di Australia, dan itu menjadi pengalaman yang sangat-sangat berharga untuk saya.
Oh, I see. Memang pariwisata background-nya Pak Mike?
Bukan, saya juga jobbing ya di Australia. Saya mulai di hotel sebagai housekeeping, kemudian saya bekerja di kapal mutiara, di kapal udang. Itu memang jobbing ya, tapi menjadi pengalaman yang luar biasa.
Oke. Tapi Pak Mike sudah sangat lancar bahasa Indonesianya, sangat beda sama Bu Sandra.
Ya, saya sudah mulai belajar bahasa Indonesia dari tahun 2008 di Jerman, karena saya kuliah jurusan Asian Studies and Management dengan fokus pada Indonesia, dan saya sudah mulai belajar bahasa Indonesia waktu saya kuliah.
Oke. Ini katanya Mas Dahana, Mas Ipung sudah hampir 5 tahun ya Pak ya?
Apa?
Penempatan di Wisma Jerman Surabaya ini.
Oh bukan, dia masih baru. Oh saya 5 tahun di Wisma Jerman.
Oke.
Dan sebelumnya saya sudah di Jakarta, di Kadin Jerman Indonesia.
Oh.
Jadi totalnya jadi sekitar 10 tahun sekarang.
Oh, makanya. Ya, kalau gitu ini nggih, silakan. Ini kita insya Allah tepat waktu, jadi nggih, silakan Mbak Haya. Nggih, di live kan dulu sebentar. Nggih. Silakan Mas Gema. Nggih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
Good afternoon for participant of discussion class Akademiabiliti. Good afternoon to our guest, Mr. Mike Nuber.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Welcome to our forum. Many thanks to Harian Surya, who is relaying our class in Harian Surya YouTube channel and Tribun News Jawa Timur. For our class today, we will discuss about getting to know about German culture, will be conveyed by Mr. Mike Nuber, Managing Director of Wisma Jerman.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mas Gema.
I am Gema Fikriansyah. You can call me Gema. I will be a moderator for today's class. Next up for Bisa Ratna Adiadi will presenting overview of Yayasan Peduli Kasih Anak Berkebutuhan Khusus. For Ibu Sawitri, time is yours.
Ya. Terima kasih Mas Gema dan terima kasih Pak Mike Neuber. Saya izin memakai bahasa Indonesia sebagai pengantar menuju ke kelas diskusi karena supaya kita sama-sama tahu apa sih yang dikerjakan Yayasan Peduli Kasih ABK dan akhirnya kita juga nanti insya Allah terjadi kerjasama dan teman-teman juga terutama yang baru mengenal pertama kali kelas diskusi dalam bahasa Inggris, jadi biar tahu apa sih tujuannya ya. Selain juga bahasa Inggris saya ternyata memang masih jelek seperti itu. Jadi Yayasan Peduli Kasih Anak Berkebutuhan Khusus didirikan sejak tahun 2012. Jadi memang kami mengacu pada rekomendasi WHO untuk negara sedang berkembang tentang anak-anak berkebutuhan khusus atau disabilitas yang memang banyak sekali terkait dengan kemiskinan. yaitu adalah rehabilitasi berbasis masyarakat atau CBR, Community Based Rehabilitation. Dan kami juga mengacu pada ICF, International Classification of Functioning of Disability and Health, yaitu bahwa yang utama dari special needs atau disabilities ini adalah bagaimana mereka tetap berfungsi, apapun bentuknya, kondisinya, dan sebagainya. Jadi supaya mereka bisa berfungsi atau bermanfaat itu ada 3, yaitu yang pertama sistem atau strukturnya diubah, maksudnya struktur dalam tubuh anak itu dikoreksi dengan operasi dan macam-macam, biarlah para teman-teman yang spesialis gitu ya, yang memang profesional yang terkait dengan itu, atau sistemnya diubah, biarlah itu para pejabat atau para pemerintah seperti itu. Tapi untuk masyarakat yang utama adalah bagaimana supaya special needs ini menjadi bisa berpartisipasi, dilibatkan dan terlibat dalam kegiatan apapun. Dan yang ketiga adalah mereka tetap aktif. Jadi oleh karena itu visi yayasan adalah mendukung partisipasi aktif ABK melalui peran orang tua. Jadi yang utama nomor 1 adalah orang tua dulu agar bisa menerima apapun kondisi anaknya dan akhirnya bisa mengoptimalkan potensi, pasti setiap orang ada potensinya. Yang kedua, bagaimana masyarakat itu bisa memahami dan saling bantu. Jadi Zoom ini salah satu tujuan dari misi kedua. Yang ketiga, bagaimana ABK ini bisa berpartisipasi aktif, bisa terlibat. Kami memberi kesempatan kepada teman-teman yang berkebutuhan khusus untuk bisa, terutama yang verbal ya, yang verbal dan bisa baca lancar, untuk bisa menjadi host ya, supaya berani speak up. Akhirnya menjadi advokat untuk dirinya sendiri dan alhamdulillah dalam perjalanannya teman-teman ini yang jadi host ini ternyata bisa juga menjadi bahasa Inggrisnya lancar. Kita latih juga beberapa bulan seperti itu dan alhamdulillah bisa lancar dan ya memang sebelumnya mereka juga belajar bahasa Inggris pastinya kan. Jadi kita juga memberi kesempatan kepada mereka untuk menjadi host atau moderator dengan teman-teman atau narasumber yang ya paling tidak native speaker lah, tapi yang bisa bahasa Indonesia. Jadi supaya kalau ada macet ya, tapi ini bisa dibantu gitu ya. Tapi ini kan menjadi pengalaman yang berharga buat mereka. Dan karena banyak sekali sekarang ini informasi beasiswa untuk teman-teman jalur khusus disabilitas. Jadi kalau tidak dipersiapkan, alangkah sayangnya, apalagi seperti Mas Gema ini, beliau sebentar lagi lulus gitu. Jadi banyak mungkin juga Pak Mike di sini dalam hal ini mungkin bisa memberi informasi selain budaya Jerman, mungkin pendidikan ABK di sana atau layanan di sana dan terjadi saling memberian informasi seperti itu. Yang keempat tentu saja karena Yayasan Peduli Kasih Anak Berkebutuhan Khusus ini kita terutama fokusnya adalah dari keluarga kurang mampu, maka kami ingin memberdayakan ekonomi keluarga dengan anak berkebutuhan khusus ya, terutama kualitas hidupnya. Jadi ini banyak sekali yang sudah kami lakukan 11 tahun ini, baik di dalam, maksudnya kita menerima ABK atau kita juga membuat lingkungan yang ramah ABK. Lanjut. Ini adalah foto-foto tentang kegiatan. Jadi kegiatan itu kami bagi 2 sebelum COVID, yaitu di dalam gedung atau di luar gedung. Di dalam gedung kita bagi 2 lagi, yaitu kelas orang tua. Jadi orang tua kita ajak untuk sharing apa yang masih bisa dilakukan di rumah agar anaknya ini nantinya yaitu tadi bisa berfungsi, bermanfaat di masyarakat. Dan yang kelas anak atau kelas disabilitas kita beri kreativitas yang memang kita izinnya sekarang adalah lembaga pelatihan kerja. Jadi tentang yaitu seni, kuliner, fashion, bela diri, maupun multimedia, maupun literasi atau public speaking ini. Dan kelas yang di luar gedung yaitu kita mengadakan penyuluhan. Ya, penyuluhan, kalau dulu penyuluhan langsung, sekarang ini kita ya dengan Zoom ini. Ya, dan juga kita kerjasama dengan banyak pihak karena bekerja di special need atau disabilitas nggak bisa kerja sendiri, termasuk juga dengan media tadi sebagai amplifier, ya, dan juga dengan hotel maupun tempat-tempat yang strategis untuk bisa mendisplay karya-karya ABK ini. Ya, lanjut. Ini adalah cara-cara kami agar siapapun bisa mengoptimalkan bakat minat dari ABK-nya. Jadi dengan adanya Zoom, dengan adanya online juga ini kami bisa dulunya hanya di tempat di offline saja, tapi ternyata dengan online ini merambah ke tidak hanya Surabaya, Sidoarjo ya. Sekarang ini kami tempatnya di Sidoarjo yaitu di Pondok Chandra. Jadi ada lomba fotografi, lomba menulis, festival berani bersuara. Jadi host ini juga cikal bakalnya adalah kita mengadakan festival berani bersuara, yaitu bersuara di sini adalah mengekspresikan apa yang ada dalam pikiran dan perasaannya, ya baik umpamanya kata-katanya terbata-bata, gugup, artikulasinya kurang jelas dan sebagainya, atau dengan isyarat atau dengan gambar seperti itu. Dan semua lomba yang kami adakan bukan mencari yang terbaik ya, yang got talent, tapi adalah bagaimana supaya mereka ini menemukan potensinya seperti itu. Jadi tidak berbayar tapi ada hadiahnya. Ya, yang terakhir adalah lomba kemampuan, festival kemampuan, yaitu saking banyaknya yang ikut sehingga kita bagi 3, yaitu kemampuan dalam berolahraga, kemampuan dalam perform di panggung gitu, dan kemampuan dalam membuat karya kerajinan tangan. Ya, lanjut. Lanjutnya, ya ini adalah hasil karya anak berkebutuhan khusus. Tentu saja kita harus ya bukan show off ya, tapi memang harus didorong bahwa mereka bisa menghasilkan karya ya. Jadi ini adalah karya dari Andre dan Isyati yang sama-sama disabilitas cerebral palsy, umurnya 49 dan 39 tahun. Saya lihat ya, pertama kita lihat dulu apa yang masih bisa dia kerjakan ya. Mereka yang Andre lulus SD, yang Isyati tidak pernah sekolah karena ditolak terus ya. Untuk sekolah SLB atau special school tidak bisa karena kejauhan gitu ya. Akhirnya tapi semangat belajarnya tinggi, jadi saya melihat mereka masih bisa menulis walaupun tulisannya jelek. Maksud saya menceritakan tentang dirinya, jadi kita pinjemi laptop dan kita ajak ngobrol supaya kembali memorinya, termasuk juga ngobrol digging ya, menggali apa yang ingatan masa lalu dan sebagainya sehingga tidak membosankan seperti itu. Jadi akhirnya jadilah sebuah buku. Silakan mengapresiasi, harga bukunya 80.000 di luar ongkos kirim. Jadi silakan buku ini sebagai rujukan ya, walaupun cuma 2 orang yang menulis, tapi paling tidak masyarakat itu tahu apa yang menjadi pikiran dan perasaan dari dewasa. Ini dewasa bukan dewasa muda lagi ya, dewasa tua. Jadi supaya mereka bisa lebih mengoptimalkan untuk anak-anaknya ini ya. Lanjut. Dan ada nomor kontaknya ya. Lanjut. Ya, ini adalah karya-karya ABK baik yang katanya orang tua anakku tidak bisa apa-apa. Jadi kami mencoba menggali apa yang namanya kita sebut co-creativity. Jadi kreativitas bersama antara anak. Jadi pertama mereka kita biarkan mencoret apapun. Coretan setiap anak adalah khas, apapun, biarpun dia bukan ABK atau ABK dan sebagainya, umur berapapun, dia pasti khas si anak itu. Ya, terus akhirnya karena kita berniat untuk menjual, dan kita alhamdulillah ada spray yang diberi oleh hotel, kita potong sebesar kertas HVS seperti itu, anak-anak mencoret di situ pakai spidol kain dan sebagainya. Dan lanjutnya adalah dengan bantuan dari crafter, ya kita minta tolong crafter untuk mempercantik dengan bantuan orang tua dari anak tersebut, dan jadilah seperti ini. Contohnya bantalan kursi, ya, seperti ini, atau ditaruh di kaos, ya, atau di tote bag dan sebagainya. Dan ini alhamdulillah kemarin kita mengikuti UMKM, lomba UMKM Small Middle Enterprise gitu ya, menjadi juara 1 se-Indonesia dari program Bangga namanya, yang dilaksanakan oleh Permata Bank maupun Precious One. Dan oleh karena itu kami juga alhamdulillah mendapat kesempatan untuk buka lapak selama Natal atau Desember di Shangri-La. Sabtu Minggu seperti sudah 2 tahun ini. Dan kemudian kita juga mendapat kerjasama dari Ibis Hotel Surabaya City Center. Jadi di situ karya-karya ini dipajang seperti ini. Jadi silakan teman-teman untuk mengapresiasi, ada nomor kontak yang bisa dihubungi. Ya, lanjut. Nah, ini adalah seperti disampaikan tadi bahwa program untuk ABK itu tidak bisa sendiri, harus saling kerjasama dan memang lama hasilnya. Jadi alhamdulillah kami sudah mendapat rumah di Pondok Chandra, Jalan Manggis Tengah 3, T127, dekat Juanda, Pak Mike. Jadi ini jadi sudah ada, cuman masih belum ada sarana prasarana yang mendukung. Jadi silakan teman-teman untuk donasi ataupun menjadi volunteer di sini ya, volunteer untuk untuk orang tua atau kelas orang tua atau kelas anak tersebut. Ada nomor rekening yayasan. Ya, lanjut. Karena kami ini gratis layanannya, kami tentu harus pandai cari uang. Ya, maksud saya cari uang yang untuk operasional atau untuk pengembangan program dan sebagainya. Maka untuk itu kami bekerja sama dengan namanya KBIH, Kelompok Bimbingan Haji Indonesia, yang mengadakan paket umroh maupun haji, ya, pilgrim seperti itu. Jadi silakan teman-teman, ini sebetulnya program umroh haji biasa. Jadi siapapun boleh ikut, ya, Muslim tentunya, dan baik ABK maupun tidak. Cuman kami memberi kesempatan ABK untuk bisa umroh. Ya, tentu didampingi keluarga, harga tetap sama, ya, didampingi keluarga, atau kalau memang tidak ada, kita juga kan kerjasama dengan Ustadz yang ada di Nusa Tenggara Timur dalam program kurban. Kita kerjasama dengan mereka ternyata belum pernah haji, ya, ada yang sudah umroh dan sebagainya, nanti bisa didampingi dengan sebelumnya nanti terjadi seperti briefing dan sebagainya. Jadi silakan teman-teman untuk ya umrohlah di sini. This is about Germany or about pilgrim? Oh, ya. Jadi ada yang bertanya, apakah ini Germany? Ini memang kami memberi informasi. Bagaimanapun kan yayasan juga perlu bekerja sama dengan banyak pihak. Ini hanya sekedar informasi apa yang dilakukan oleh yayasan untuk bisa sustained, ya, walaupun gratis seperti itu, Mbak. Nih Mbak siapa ini ya? Tadi namanya Mbak Mita. Ya, terima kasih. Ini masih bahasa Indonesia Mbak ya, daripada saya ngomongnya belepotan. Lanjut, jadi ada program-program, silakan teman-teman mensaksamai. Lanjut Mbak. Jadi bisa dilihat di IG @YPedulikasiABK ya. Ya, lanjut. Oke, ya. Dan di sini kita mengadakan kita memang untuk tim, ya, kita membutuhkan tim terutama untuk staff sales marketing untuk produk-produk yayasan. Memang berat supaya bisa hidup, ya, bisa sustained. Jadi yayasan membutuhkan, silakan teman-teman yang merasa cocok untuk kualifikasi dan tanggung jawab, silakan membuat CV ya dengan menghubungi narahubung ini ya, silakan. Oke, lanjut. Ini ada open recruitment untuk volunteer ya, volunteer yang remote ya, terutama content writer artikel maupun content writer sosial media. Tapi kami juga membuka kesempatan juga untuk yang bisa mendampingi ABK, jadi yang offline silakan. Oke, it is ada pertanyaan. It is still introduction. Please be patient. Oke, terima kasih Mbak Fiorananda. Oke, ya. Ini memang ini Mbak Mita bertanya, apakah ini webinar kerja atau sekolah? Jadi rasanya bukan salah join, Mbak. Kita memang memberi informasi pada keluarga-keluarga dengan ABK atau siapapun tentang kerja maupun sekolah, terutama di Jerman saat ini, karena informasinya saat ini tentang Jerman. Jadi ini adalah maksud saya channel YouTube Peduli Kasih ABK, yaitu yang berisi Zoom yang kita buat sekarang ini dengan kerjasama dan juga di replay oleh Harian Surya maupun Tribun Jatim. Jadi saya cuma introduction saja. Lanjut Mas Gema, silakan. Terima kasih Pak Mike juga. Ya, terima kasih.
Alright, thank you, Bu Sawitri. I want to remind you, if you have a question, you write it down in the chat box or using raise hand. Okay. Before I start the discussion, I will introduce to Mr. Mike. Good afternoon, Mr. Mike. How are you feeling today?
Yes, good afternoon, Mas Gema. I'm fine. Thank you very much for this invitation.
Okay. Before we continue to the discussion, Mr. Mike will present about the Germany and its culture. For Mr. Mike, time is yours.
Thank you. I will start sharing my screen. Please kindly let me know when you can see my screen, so I will start. First of all, thank you very much, Ibu Sawitri, Mas Gema, for organizing this event today and for inviting me to be a speaker and to introduce you to Germany and German culture. I hope you can see my screen already.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. Okay. Then, before we can talk about Germany, we first have to get there. I'm still struggling a little bit here. So first we have to find where Germany is actually. Germany, as you can see, far away from Indonesia. If we would take a car, it would take us almost 300 hours. Fortunately, we do not have to take a car. We can fly. And the flight time from Indonesia to Germany is about 14-15 hours. With one stopover usually. And then we will finally at some point arrive in Germany. So then, welcome to Germany. As you can see, Germany is located in the middle of Europe, like right at the heart, especially of Western Europe. And it is surrounded by 9 countries, which makes it an ideal starting point to explore Europe. The German language is the second most used language in the European Union after English, and it is spoken in, as you can see here, in many different countries. Some of them even have it as their official language, such as Switzerland and Austria, obviously. But as you can see, even in Poland, France, or in Belgium and in Holland, many people can speak the German language. Germany is much smaller than Indonesia, and we only have a fraction of the population of Indonesia. As you can see, the population of Germany is about 84 million, and the population density is at 233 people per square kilometer. If we compare this with Indonesia, in Indonesia, the population density is 144 people per square kilometer. So the population density in Germany is higher on a national level. But when we look at Java in particular, Java has one of the highest population densities in the world with 1,100 people per square kilometer. Yeah. So you might get an idea how Germany looks. Germany is a democracy since 1949 and is a parliamentary federal republic with 16 federal states. And those federal states have some kind of autonomy in several fields, such as education, where I will talk about it a little bit later in more detail. Germany itself is highly diverse, actually, and offers landscapes and cityscapes. As you can see here, Germany doesn't have many large cities, yeah, compared to Indonesia. Indonesia has many large cities with a population of more than 500,000 people, whereas in Germany we have only 14 cities with a population of more than 500,000 and only 4 cities with a population of more than 1 million people. So we have a lot of small cities and villages, actually. But one particularity about Germany is that the living conditions are more or less the same anywhere in Germany. Yeah. So when we look, for example, at Indonesia, when you are in a village, you might not have access to a cinema, you might not have access to a shopping mall or to different kind of services like health services, good quality health services. In Germany, there is a law, or basically that is part of the constitution, of the Grundgesetz, that the living conditions have to be equal or equivalent everywhere in Germany. So that means when you live in a village, nearby there has to be a smaller city which has all necessary services and institutions that are required to be considered equivalent standard of living. So yeah, Germany has 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. Yeah. Currently, it is winter in Germany. It is cold, about 3 to 6 degrees at the moment, I think, but no snow. Yeah, winter starts, the meteorological winter starts in early December and then goes for 3 months. And then spring starts in March, again for 3 months. Summer starts in September and winter again in December. So as you can see, spring means everything is blooming, everything is waking up. Yeah, the flora and fauna, yeah, the animals and the plants, they are waking up, growing, everything becomes fresh and green. It's a very nice time to be in Germany, actually. Also, summer, during summer, of course, it's more hot. As you can see from the pictures of the oak tree in the middle, yeah, the grass gets more dry, and the tree gets more full, yeah. And then in autumn, of course, the leaves start to fall. It will rain a lot. The humidity, or not the humidity, but how do you say that? Yeah, the amount of rainfall will increase. And yeah, in winter, there is a chance for snow. Usually, almost every year, we will have snow in Germany, especially in the higher regions, in the sogenannte, so-called, how do you call them, medium height mountain ranges, Mittelgebirge in German. You will have a high chance of encounter snow. So yeah, what do we do during those seasons? I will focus mostly on summertime and winter because it's not much different in spring and in autumn. Yeah, Germans like to be outside and like to be in the nature a lot. Yeah, as you can see, during summertime, people will sit in, for example, in beer gardens or in the city centers. There are cafes and open air restaurants, so they will sit there and socialize. Or another thing that Germans really like to do during summertime is go to the beach. We do not have a lot of ocean beaches. Yeah, the ocean in Germany, as you saw maybe before on the map, is only in the north. But we have a lot of lakes and a lot of rivers, and almost all of them have clean water and are suitable to be used for swimming. And of course, like many Europeans and other Western foreigners, we like to lie in the sun and get some color on the skin. Also barbecues, yeah, just hang out with friends, enjoy the time outside, or do some sports activities. Like cycling is very big in Germany. Many Germans ride their bicycle whenever they can. And that is also supported, of course, by the infrastructure. Like in rural areas, there will be, people can use the main roads without having to fear being crashed in by a car or something. And in the cities, usually there are special lanes for bicycles or other means of transportation are not the same as a car or a motorcycle. Yes, so that is summertime. And yeah, summertime is also festival time. Germans like to celebrate. And yeah, music festivals, but not just music festivals, but also cultural festivals are very big in Germany. They can be found all over Germany. And yeah, there are some of them which are very, very famous, like Rock am Ring. Yeah, is one of the most famous music festivals in Europe and even in the world, I would say. If you want to see like famous bands like Coldplay, or I don't even know some of the bands nowadays, there's a high chance that they will be there. And there are many festivals also according to different genres, film festivals and so on. Okay. Yeah, what do Germans like to do in winter? Yeah, when it's cold outside, not everybody is always active. Yeah. Obviously, people like to stay in and spend time with their loved ones, like family and friends, and just hang out. But of course, there are also winter sports, especially in the mountain regions. You can go skiing or ice skating or riding a sleigh. So there are many possibilities also during winter. And of course, during winter, the most famous holiday or the most important holiday for Germans is happening, and that is Christmas. And during Christmas, there will be Christmas markets all over the country, usually 3 to 4 weeks before Christmas. They start and then they run until just before Christmas. And yeah, this is how it looks there. As you can see, even though it's cold outside, they have a very warm atmosphere and with a lot of light, and there will also be music and entertainment. And there will be special food that we can mostly only find during Christmas time. For example, Glühwein or malt wine, which is hot wine with a variety of spices like cinnamon, cloves, and orange or lemon peels. They come also as non-alcoholic variations, and they are, like everybody in Germany will drink that during Christmas time. And also many different snacks that can only be found at Christmas time. So, yeah, I was just starting to talk about food. Here you can see I have a few slides actually about what Germans eat. You can have an image, what you can find there when you're there. Like bread is very big in Germany, obviously. You all know about that, but probably, or you might not all know that the bread in Germany is very different from what you consider bread here, mostly, because from my experience, bread here is often more like a cake, because it's sweet and soft. Whereas, as you can see, the bread in Germany is mostly dark, crunchy, uses a lot of like, how do you say that, seeds and other additions that make it more tasty. I know we can also find bread like that here, but it's very difficult. It's not like when we go to a regular bakery, it's usually they don't have those kind of breads. And two other things which are very big in Germany is obviously sausages. You can see that. There is a large variety of sausages available in Germany. We can buy them as whole sausages, like in the upper right corner, or we can buy them as cold cut, which is usually eaten together with bread. And the other one staple for Germans is cheese. It's the same. There is a large variety of cheeses. Of course, they do not all come from Germany. There are some cheeses from France and from Holland and from Switzerland and from Belgium and from other countries. But in general, cheese is definitely part of the diet for Germans. It will also be eaten like in slices, like the sausages on the left side you can see, or just cut pieces, or we cook with cheese. It's some food that is very, very common. Here again, more sausages, as you can see. These are some very typical German dishes. They originate from certain regions, but they can be found all over Germany. Like the top on the left is Nürnberger Bratwürste. It's like a Nürnberger grilled sausages. Yeah, they come from Nürnberg, and they are served with sauerkraut. Also very typical for German. Maybe you even know that during the Second World War, Germans were called krauts by the Americans, and that is where that comes from, because Germans are well known for eating sauerkraut. The other one on the top right corner is a currywurst or curry sausage. It's an invention from somebody in Berlin. So it originates from Berlin, but nowadays it can be found all over Germany, everywhere. It's sort of like a fast food, very tasty. The one on the left corner is a Weißwurst. On the bottom left corner, that is a breakfast actually in Bavaria, in Munich. Yeah. And the one on the lower right corner is a Thüringer Bratwurst, which is also, again, another sort of grilled sausage from another region. Can also be found all over Germany, more like a fast food also. Yeah, more food. As you can see, Germans eat also a lot of potato-based food. Yeah, grilled potatoes, cooked potatoes, mashed potatoes, potatoes in all varieties. Then, interestingly, the one on the lower left corner is doner kebab, yeah, which is obviously originally from the Middle East. This has been brought to Germany by Turkish immigrants during the so-called economic wonder after the Second World War. And this has become a typical food in Germany. Yeah, this is a different variety or different variation than the original one from the Middle East. Uses a lot of vegetables and can be found all over Germany. And I also know that Indonesians who go to Germany, they will definitely love the doner kebab there. Yeah. One here you can see is like a sort of a German pasta. It's called Spätzle, and that is from the region where I come from, the southeast, Baden-Württemberg. But there's also other food. Yeah, you can see it's a large variety. Asparagus is very big during the season. There's a season for asparagus in Germany, and then many people to eat it. And fish. It's also something that is eaten very often, but mostly in the north. Yeah, I think that is enough about the food. Yeah, now I would like to talk about Germans and their character a little bit. Yeah, but I would like to ask you to take this with the wink of an eye. Yeah, so it's not 100% serious, but there's definitely a core of truth to it. As you know, probably are famous for being punctual and reliable, and yeah, that is really something. I think it is changing a little bit, but still, that is something that is part of German culture, to be on time, and if you're not on time, to inform the other person why you're not on time, and so they will know. Then Germans are generally very open-minded. As you can see here also, in Germany, we do not consider that there are only two sexes, like men and women, but it's actually, there is other possibilities, yeah. Like the gender is not as not as, how do you say that, not as polarized, yeah, as in other countries. Then Germany has a lot of rules and regulations, and that is one reason for that is that Germans tend to be risk averse. They try to avoid risks and put an emphasis on security, yeah, for example, investment security or family security. So that is one of the reasons why, for example, insurances have been invented in Germany. The concept of an insurance comes from Germany, yeah. And in Germany, we have a lot of insurances. Like every German has at least 4 or 5 insurances. That will be, of course, a health insurance. Then we have an accident insurance, a life insurance, and then we have an insurance. It's a so-called liability insurance, a personal liability insurance, and almost everybody in Germany has it. And it can be used in the case that we are together with some friends, for example, and inadvertently we destroy, for example, the phone of a friend or something, then the insurance will cover that. So it's a sort of liability, personal liability insurance. Then, as you can see here, for example, I have some symbols here, yeah, like no fun in Germany, go back to work, or I'm not mean, I'm honest. These are some characteristics of Germans. They might be considered rude by people from outside, but it's actually not being rude. It's just the way of communicating. For example, I'm not mean, I'm honest. That means Germans have a very direct style of communicating. Yeah, they will say what they mean and will not talk around the topic. They will get straight to the point. And yeah, this can be considered rude by people from other cultures, for example, from Indonesia, where the communication is more indirect. And also it says here, no fun in Germany, go back to work. What that means is, in Germany, the task is more important than a relationship. Yeah, a German in general will be more task-oriented in fulfilling a task than in preserving or developing a relationship. Yeah, what that means is, for example, we have a saying in Germany, which is erst die Arbeit, dann das Vergnügen. And that means first the work needs to be done and then we can have fun, for example. Yeah. So it's an approach where this can be considered serious or yeah, too stiff by people from other countries and other cultural backgrounds. Yeah, Germans also have a tendency to complain because we have high standards of living, and when we are in surroundings where, for example, those kind of standards cannot be fulfilled, there's a tendency to complain, yeah, to be unhappy. But that is also something that is somehow rooted in the German culture, to be not always satisfied, yeah, to be a little bit dissatisfied. And I think that is also a motor for Germans to drive the society, yeah, to drive development. Because when you're not happy, when you're not satisfied, that means you need to do something, you need to improve something. And so that is some kind of character trait of Germans. Yeah. Then you probably have heard of the word Wanderlust, maybe. because that is also a word which I see in Indonesia frequently, especially in Bali, but also in other tourist places. It means the joy of traveling. Yeah, Germans like to travel, and up to a few years ago, Germans regularly were world champions in traveling. That means the amount of Germans traveling the world was the highest for any country in the world. Yeah. Nowadays, it's the Chinese, because they have a much larger population. I'm not entirely sure Germany sits in which place right now, but in general, Germans like to travel a lot. And there's also one fun fact about Germans. As you can see, there's this picture of a guy wearing socks with sandals. Yeah, that is something, especially people from outside of Germany will think about Germans like that. Yeah. And there's a high chance when you are in Bali or in any other tourist place and you see a foreigner wearing sandals and socks like this, it might be a German. Okay, so this is a little bit about German characteristics. Now, yeah, as you can see here, what is typical for Germany from our perspective? We have a very much developed waste separation and waste management system in Germany. Yeah. Of course, you collect also waste in different bins, but not as much as we do in Germany. In Germany, every household has different bins, yeah, where we put the trash separately, like general trash, and then paper, plastics, and bio trash. But also above that, there are also collection points for other kind of waste, like as you can see here in the upper right corner, glass will be collected according to the color, and on the lower screen, and you can see the cans. Yeah, they are also being collected. Some of them in a container, just like the glass containers, but some of them will also be collected at stores and will be exchanged for a deposit. As the same with the bottles, as you can see on the upper screen end. Yeah. Usually when we buy something to drink in a plastic or glass bottle, we will have to pay a deposit. And then we can bring back the bottle or a can, for example, back to the store, or not just to the store where we bought it, but to almost every other store. So it makes it easy. Yeah. And then we will get our deposit back. Yeah, Go Green is very big in Germany. Yeah, renewable energy is, yeah, I think Germany is one of the leading renewable energy countries in the world, especially in solar power and bioenergy. When you are in Germany, you will see a lot of rooftop solar energy systems on private houses. Yeah. But also when you are in a more rural area, you will also see a lot of biogas plants. And more important is also wind energy. It's becoming more and more important. Germany is developing wind energy, especially in the North Sea. Offshore wind energy, which is supposed to substitute nuclear energy. And yeah, some of you might know that Germany will switch off its last nuclear plants next year, and then the energy supply will come from gas and mostly renewable energy. Okay, I was talking about gender before. Gender mainstreaming is also something that is very common and important in Germany. To treat men and women and other genders all the same. This is also mirrored in our language. As you can see, yeah, here on the top left corner, in Germany we have female or feminine and masculine words. Yeah, almost every noun has a masculine and a feminine form. But in order to not discriminate nowadays, as part of gender mainstreaming, we have to use them all at the same time. So even if we, when we talk about a particular group, like for example, teachers, yeah, in English we say the teachers, and we know it's feminine and male, or female and male teachers, yeah. But in German, nowadays we use substitute words, or we have to use the feminine and the masculine word in order not to discriminate. So it's very important. Yeah, these are some things that you probably also know. Germany is famous for the Autobahn, the famous highway, where you can, in certain spots, you can actually drive your car without any speed limit. That is also why some of the richest people bring their cars to Germany just to drive their cars at the highest speed possible. So that is, yeah, it's infrastructure in Germany. Then, of course, we have famous car brands. Yeah, Germans are among the discoverers and inventors of cars. You know, Mercedes-Benz, obviously, and Carl Benz is actually considered, Carl Benz, yeah, the person who developed the first Mercedes-Benz, is considered as the inventor of the automobile. And then the Otto engine, maybe you heard of that as well. It's the Otto motor. And the diesel is also, it's the name of a German, Rudolf Diesel, who invented the diesel engine. So obviously the car industry is very big. We have Mercedes, we have Audi, BMW, Porsche, BMW, or Volkswagen and Opel. These are the most famous brands, I would say, German brands. Then Germans like soccer. Soccer is the national sport. Yeah, many Germans are crazy about it. And Bundesliga is among the prime soccer leagues in the world. And I'm sure some of you also follow it and like some of the German football clubs. Yeah, and also interestingly, Germans love their pets. Yeah, Germans have a lot of pets, almost 35 million pets in Germany. When you consider that we have a population of 84 million, that is quite a lot. And most of them are cats, actually. Yeah, almost, or about 50% of those 35 million pets in German households are cats. Yeah. And here are some things that you might not know about Germany. Germans love their small gardens and garden gnomes. Many Germans have a small garden, which is apart from the house, yeah, where they can go on the weekends or during the holidays just to spend some time in nature, take care of the garden. That is something that's very, very common. And garden gnomes, I don't know where that comes from, to be honest, but it's something that is very German, to have garden gnomes, not just in the garden, but also in the household. Cuckoo clocks are also something which can be considered very German, yeah, but actually they only originate from one area in Germany, from the Schwarzwald. But I'm sure you have seen them. Yeah, then what you might not know is also that Germany has many nude beaches. Yeah, it's yeah, where people will go to the beach without wearing clothes. It's quite common. And yeah, we have Carnival and Fasching in Germany, which is one of the most celebrated events in Germany. In certain regions, it's very, very big. And actually right now is the Carnival season in Germany. It usually starts on the 11th of November at 11 minutes past 11 a.m. And then it runs until about March. And the highlight of this Carnival season is usually in February or March, because it differs from year to year. Yeah, and you can see people will dress up and just celebrate together, have a good time. And then there is also something I'm sure you know, very typical for Germany is the Oktoberfest. It's the largest people's party in the world. As you can see in the middle of this slide here, it's like a fun fair. Yeah, there's a roller coaster and what do you call it? Giant wheel, I think. And yeah, a lot of celebration going on. The men will wear those typical leather pants from Bavaria, as you can see on the picture on the upper screen end. And the women will wear traditional dresses called Dirndl. And people will drink a lot of beer. The beer is being served in those big mugs, like 1 liter mugs. And as you probably know, Germany has a large variety of beers. Here in Indonesia, there are not that many different kind of beers. In Germany, we have thousands, because many small villages or small cities, they have their own brewery. Yeah, this Oktoberfest usually takes place, it starts in the last week of September, and then it runs for 3 weeks, I think. And millions of people visit it. People come from all over the world to Munich to visit the Oktoberfest. But nowadays, the Oktoberfest has also already spread globally. In many cities, in many countries, people celebrate the Oktoberfest. Also here in Surabaya, as you might know, some of the malls and some of the hotels organize the Oktoberfest here. But to be honest, most of them are not very authentic. We from Wisma Jerman, we also organize the Oktoberfest, and I think we can say our Oktoberfest is the most authentic that you can find in Surabaya. Okay. Yeah, then I want to talk a little bit about traffic in Germany. Like I said before, people in Germany often use the bicycle, and the infrastructure supports that very much. And we can only find very few motorbikes. Most of the people will use cars, but also many inner cities nowadays make it difficult for cars to be in the city. The requirements for cars to be used in the city are becoming very strict, so that people have to use public transport. And the public transport system is highly integrated, and there are many different forms of public transport. Like we have a bus system in every city, and the bus also runs to the villages, and we have underground railroads, trams, and intercity trains, many different kinds of public transportation. And we have a lot of rules, as you can see here, what I said before already. And on the contrary to Indonesia, when you break the rules, the traffic rules especially, you will get fined. There are many speed cameras, even on small roads and in villages, and people will get fined and can lose their license rather quickly in Germany. So now I talked a lot about Germany and also about Germans before, but it's not so easy to say, okay, this is the typical German, because Germany, as I said before, is highly diverse. And nowadays we have also a lot of people with a migration background in Germany. As you can see, in 2019, about 26% of the population had a migration background. They came from another country at some point in their lives. That is actually very interesting. And what is more interesting is that of all the people with a migration background, 52% are Germans. They have been born in Germany, but their family comes from another country, and 48% are foreigners. And also, again, what I mentioned before regarding gender equality, as you can see here, in the German parliament, we have a lot of women. 256 members of parliament are women, and 2 of them are transgender. So in this regard, Germany is very open-minded and welcoming. Okay, now I would like to talk about education a little bit, but education is a very large topic, and it's very difficult, because education is regulated by the federal states. It's not regulated on a national basis. So the states have certain autonomy in this field, and there are differences between the different states. So it's not so easy to explain. But they have a few things in common, and some of those are that they all have 5 main education sectors, which I will explain a little bit more in detail on the next slide. The degrees and qualifications are the same, and the transitions between the different sectors are also the same. So this is actually an interactive graphic that shows the German school system, but it's actually much more complicated than this. I simplified it a little bit, and the transitions here are not visible. But as you can see, we have 5 main sectors, which is the elementary, the primary, the first secondary sector, the second secondary, and the tertiary sector. So, and as you can see, the elementary starts with daycare and kindergarten, just like here. And then people go to elementary school for 4 years. And after those 4 years, the elementary school gives a recommendation based on the performance up to that point, where the child should continue, whether it should go to a so-called gymnasium, or it's like a high school, or to Realschule, which is more like a middle school, upper middle school, and Hauptschule, which is more like a lower middle school. And then there's also an integrated form of school. And yeah, from then on, basically the path of young children gets split up. Yeah, so they go to different schools, and the obligatory or the mandatory school duration is 12 years. Yeah. The minimum in primary and secondary, in the primary and in the secondary sector spent there is 9 years, which would be in a Hauptschule, and then from there on people could continue with a duale Ausbildung. Maybe you heard of the term Ausbildung, which is dual vocational education, where the young people will work in a company and at the same time go to school. But it is not that when, as a child, you get like recommended, you have to go to lower middle school, for example. It doesn't mean that you will be stuck there. Yeah, you have many opportunities from lower middle school to make it to a university. Yeah, by visiting like a pre-university school where you can obtain the qualification to go to study. But the main streams, I would say the main streams of education would be people go to school, and then afterwards they either go directly into an Ausbildung, like this vocational education, or they continue to go to study. Studying can be done at a university or at a university of applied sciences. The difference here is that a university is more theoretically and more research oriented, whereas a university of applied sciences is more practically oriented. And because we are talking about special needs today, I would like to also point out a little bit about this, but I have to say I'm not an expert. Yeah, so I did some research, but I'm not an expert here. Yeah, up to now, it was organized that people with special needs would be also in special schools. Yeah, as you can see on the lower end of the graphic, yeah, there is special needs kindergarten, special needs schools, and yeah, special needs workshops. This is how the system worked until now, or until a few years ago. But nowadays, based on the ratification of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the education system for people with disabilities strives to be more inclusive. That means that education for people with disabilities should not be apart from the regular education system. So that means people with disabilities would go to normal schools, would go to the university just like everybody else. And this is a change that is happening right now. it is still in the works, it's still in development, but there have been already important steps have been taken, and there are already people with disabilities learning together with people without disabilities. That is based, as I said, on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but also because equality and equal rights are very important in the German society. We actually have a law that guarantees the same kind of treatment for everybody. Yeah, despite differences in appearance, like in skin color, age, religion, or whatever the case. And the goal is to fully integrate people with disabilities in the regular education system, which is obviously a challenge, because of course people with disabilities often have special needs and need special support, and that's the challenge, to integrate that with the normal education system, with the regular education system. But the same, what I said before about the mandatory school education, is applicable also for people with disabilities. Everybody in Germany has to go to school starting from the age of 6, and then they have to stay in school at least 12 years. 9 years full-time school and 3 years either continued full-time school or in a dual education system where they either work in a company and go to vocational school, or they work in a company and go to university. And of course, the goal is employment, full-time employment. And here it's also, of course, for people with disabilities, there are additional challenges in order to be able to work in the regular employment market. Therefore, in Germany, there are many facilities that enable people with disabilities to actually work, like in workshops. Those kind of workshops are either state-run or by the federal government or by foundations, by the church. So in those kind of workshops, people with disabilities have the opportunity to actually do a normal job and contribute to the society, but in a special environment that enables them to do that. As you can see here, these are some pictures from here. As you can see here, somebody using a circular saw or doing some manual handicraft work, and the goal is for them to learn in those kind of workshops, to learn the skills, but not just to learn the skills, but also to learn the social skills, to socialize, to develop team skills, to be able to work in a team, because the ultimate goal is to be able to work in a regular company. Not everybody will achieve that goal, but there are possibilities to achieve it. Then I'm coming to the end of my presentation. Maybe you also have a lot of questions. If you're interested to learn more about Germany and about German culture, you are also invited to come to Wisma Jerman. We have a lot of activities at Wisma Jerman where we introduce Germany, German culture, and they are usually open to the public and free of charge. So please feel free to join. You can also follow our Instagram, Wisma_German. And if you at some point hope to visit Germany or even to learn and study or work in Germany, you will have to learn the German language. It's one of the basic requirements. And here I want to encourage you a little bit. Maybe you have heard German is very difficult to learn. I don't want to say it's very easy, but I think it all depends on our motivation and on our will to learn something. And here I can give you an example of how easy German can be, compared to English, where you have many different words and phrases to express different things. In German here, we only have one word to express all those different things. So that makes it a bit easier. Okay, so I come to the end of my presentation. I hope I could give you some insights, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Mike. We all get knowledge about German and German culture, and also the characteristic of German people, and also education and etc. And in this chat box, there are some questions. I will read. And from Miss Mita, a question to Mr. Mike. My daughter held A2 at the moment, and now she is in UK, start her foundation year. It is possible for her to apply to direct uni there, or should start with studying code? How to read?
Studienkolleg.
Oh.
Okay, so may I repeat the question? So she has A2 German language certificate, and now she is in the UK, or did I understand? Yes. Okay.
She is now in the UK.
Yeah. For studying, she will need B1, and I don't know whether she does study in the UK right now or what she does in the UK, but usually it is a requirement for Indonesians to go to Studienkolleg first in order to make sure that, or not just for Indonesians, for many foreign students, it is a requirement to go to Studienkolleg in order to make sure that they can fulfill the requirements of studying in Germany, to be able to follow their studies, because it will be in German, the studies will be in German language, and also because there might be a difference between the duration of school in their home country and the minimum required school duration in Germany. Usually that is like a way to make sure that the students are able to be successful when they study in Germany.
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
his raised hand from Daniel Subriyadi. From Mr. Daniel, you can ask the question.
Or Pinglichkeit, but is contrary to it, its order transportation, public transportation. Okay, but the second is why did the German government launch the Gastarbeiter policy in 1960s? And my last question is, would you like to show me the picture of the sauerkraut? Das ist alles von mir. Danke.
Okay. Yeah, I can go back to the, thank you very much, Padania. I can go back to the picture of the sauerkraut. I think you asked about the punctuality of public transport, that maybe you have the experience that it's not always on time. I think in general, I would say, based on my experience, and depending also what kind of form of public transportation. But based on my experience, they are on time, but there will be definitely exceptions. And especially with the Deutsche Bahn. Deutsche Bahn is often late. I cannot give you the specific reasons why, because I'm not part of the organization. I don't know, but it might be management problems, or it might be scheduling issues. I can really only guess here. But for example, when I talk about the bus system in the city where I live, I can really I can depend on the minute. The schedule is exact to the minute. The bus will come according as what is written in the schedule. So I think it depends what form of transportation we're talking about. Also, in big cities, I think sometimes public transportation tends to be late. But that might be because of the challenges that a big city transport system brings with it. But when like I said, we find those public transportation systems all over the world, all over Germany, in different environments, and usually I think it's very reliable. Okay, your second question was, I think, about the Gastarbeiter, why Germany enacted the Gastarbeiter policy. Well, I think that was because after the war, Germany did not have enough men, not enough male people to support the economy. And in total, like the German population was decimated, but because of the Cold War between the Eastern and the Western Bloc, Germany needed to be developed quickly, fast, in order to be able to be a bulwark, to be a strong country on the border of the Cold War. That was important, and that's why also the economic development in Germany was supported by the Western Alliance. And that is why Gastarbeiter, or guest workers, were brought in from Italy, Greece, and Turkey mainly, to support the development of the German economy. I think. Yeah, and the sauerkraut, as you can see, here's the picture of the sauerkraut together with the Nürnberger Bratwürste. Did I answer all your questions, Daniel?
Ja, alles klar. Alles klar,
Okay.
Herr Neuber. Danke.
Okay.
Dankeschön.
Ja, bitteschön. Okay. Shall we answer some of the questions in the chat?
Yes, in the chat box, there are many questions about what prohibition that should not do when we are in Germany from Mujahidin Badri.
Or what we should not do when we are in Germany? I think, yeah, maybe I can give some advice. Germans tend to have a larger personal space. Yeah, that means very personal questions are uncommon in Germany. During my studies, when I learned about Indonesia, I got used to personal questions. Yeah, like, are you married? Do you have children? How old are you? Things like that. Those are personal questions that in Indonesia are perfectly fine when we ask them to a stranger. But in Germany, this will be considered rude. And people will not feel comfortable with those kind of questions when they are not used to it. Yeah. So that is something that I could say should not.
Personal question, yeah.
Too personal questions. Yeah. Especially, yeah, we know the people, it's fine. Yeah. But to a stranger, it's considered unfriendly.
I have a question about reading interest. Yeah, because I have information I have read about Germany. This country have a high grade to reading interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And contrary to Indonesia, according to the survey held by bisa, Indonesia is a country with a low literacy rate. In your opinion, why can Indonesia have a low literacy rate, and how to make Indonesian people love to reading like in German?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I can only give you my opinion, yeah, because I think there are no right or wrong answers here. Based on my opinion, why Germany has strong interest, or Germans have a strong interest in reading, I think that is something that is based on history. Yeah, because Germany is also known as the country of poets and thinkers or philosophers. Yeah. So I think that is something that is embedded already in German history and German culture. And based on my own experience and also what I know from friends, our parents are avid readers. Yeah, they read a lot. And when I was a child, I was introduced to reading very early, and I discovered it for myself. Because when you start reading, it is a way of using your own creativity to create a world. Yeah, like the world in the book you create by yourself, because you do not have it as a movie or as a picture, but it's in written words, and you have to create the image of that by yourself. And the second part is, I think, the education system in Germany fosters the development of creative and critical thinking. And that is maybe something that is in Indonesia still lacking a little bit. Yeah, and especially in the past, it was lacking. Yeah, so the problem might be here that also the older generation in Indonesia does not read a lot. Yeah, and that younger Indonesians also do not read a lot because they do not get it taught by the parents. They do not see it from their parents. Yes. I think that might be
get the point.
one of the reasons.
I wanna ask you a question about this. The time is running out today. Would you to expand the time or stop
yeah, it's fine.
the presentation? Okay.
No,
stop
it's fine.
the presentation and discussion now.
From my side, if there are still questions and still interest, I'm happy to answer the questions.
Oh, okay.
I just have to turn on the light quickly. 1 minute, because it's getting dark right now here. Okay.
Okay. I have a question about, in your opinion, what Indonesian culture you like most?
What I like the most about Indonesia is, I would say, the openness of Indonesians. That is actually also something a bit different from Germans. Germans are open-minded and welcoming when you get to know them. But when you are on the street and you don't know people will be walking like this. Yeah, and they will only care for themselves mostly. Whereas in Indonesia, it is easy to get to know people because people are very welcoming and very open to go up to somebody and talk to them. Yeah. I think in Germany, this is not always the case. Yeah. So that is something that I really like here in Indonesia. People are very open, easy to talk to. Yeah.
The openness of Indonesian people, yeah, and
very nice, always, yeah.
This is a question from Norman Gunawan, and maybe he want to speak. For Norman, you can ask the question.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So I've got a question. Two questions about. I've read that you mentioned about go green in German, and I've watched video about McDonald's in Europe. They have background color which is green. So is that related with the go green things, or you know what I mean? And the second question is about the speed limit cameras. So I'm wondering if what's the purpose to have maybe a car which have a good speed, you can speed up in the street, and you cannot drive it in a high speed. Thank you.
Okay, Norman, I'm not sure I really understood, especially the first question. Can you repeat it maybe? Or write it in the chat, because I didn't really hear it.
So
typing, Mas, please. Typing in the chat room. It's maybe,
I think it will be better to type it in the chat, and in the meantime, we can maybe answer another question.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, I could not hear you
Ya,
clearly. Yeah.
Silakan, Mas Gema.
Maybe can I pick a question from the chat?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. There's a question from Fioranda Velani asking about Ausbildung, which is dual vocational education in Germany. He or she, I think she, says she's 25 and whether she can do an Ausbildung in Germany. In general, yes, you can. Yeah, I think 25 is also still fine. There are actually no age limitations to doing an Ausbildung, but it will depend on whether you can find a company that will receive you as a trainee when you're age 25. But I think 25 is still fine. When you're closer to 30, then it will get more difficult. I watched the video.
This is a question from Yunus. Would you mind to tell us about the energy crisis that happened in Germany? Maybe about the effect of the crisis.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I also am not 100% sure about the effect because I live in Indonesia. But what I heard from my family and what I read from newspapers is that the effect so far has not been as bad as expected. Yeah, because it was expected that Germany will run out of gas. And because Germany doesn't want to buy gas from Russia, so there was a fear that there might be really an energy crisis where there's not enough energy. But apparently the gas supplies, the gas tanks are full. And Germany, I think, has found other sources for gas supply, but nevertheless, the energy crisis has led to price increases for fuel and also for basically everything. Yeah, for daily needs products, for everything has risen in price. And the government has provided a one-time financial support for Germans in order to compensate for the higher energy bill that Germans will face this winter. But like I said, the energy crisis effect is not as bad as expected. So, yeah. That's as far as I know, yeah.
The effect of energy crisis is not bad enough, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad enough, as bad as feared actually, because the fear was that really, like in the 70s, you might know in the 70s there was the oil crisis. Where there really was no electricity for several, I think, weeks, for several hours a day in Germany. And that had a very significant effect on the economy, obviously. And this is not the case this time. Okay.
Okay, is the second question from Norman Gunawan. Yeah. The second question is, what's the purpose to have high-speed car if there has plenty of speed limit cameras?
Yeah, of course. The purpose is for car lovers to be able to drive their car as fast as possible. And in Germany, they can do that in certain stretches of the Autobahn. And also, the recommended speed limit, the recommended speed on the Autobahn is 130, as I think 130. which is already quite fast. In many stretches, you can go faster than that. But when you are in cities or between cities or villages, like shorter distances, then you will find a lot of speed cameras. Also on the Autobahn, when there are speed limitations, obviously there will be speed cameras, but there are also some stretches where you can just go without any limits.
Thank you for the question and answer.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the first question about McDonald's, I really do not have an idea. That might be because of they go green, or I really don't know why they use a green background in McDonald's.
Yeah.
There's another interesting question. Maybe I'm allowed to answer that. When we study in Germany, do we have to master another language besides German and English? No, you don't. German is the most important, especially when you study a bachelor's program. Then in almost all cases, you will need German B1 level or B2. And English is not a requirement, actually, for many study programs. But especially when you want to study a master's program, English is more important. And there's also the possibility to study a master's program only in English. Yeah, so you will not have to have German language skills. It's not a requirement. But it's definitely recommended to learn German when you stay there for a longer period of time, because despite Germany being a developed country and being having a good education system and all that, many Germans do not speak English, especially the older ones. People in shops, they might not be able to speak English. So it's
not be able to speak English.
Sorry?
Yes, most German people is not be able to speak English.
Yeah, I don't want to say most. Yeah, I mean, many young people nowadays speak English very well, actually, but especially like in the cities. But when you go out of the cities, and for people who aim to do a vocational education like Ausbildung, there is a high chance that they will end up working in a more rural area or in a smaller city, not in a large city, and
okay.
might not be able to speak English very well. Okay.
We come to the end of the session. I am so very sorry if I had a mistake during the presentation and the discussion. Thank you for the participants and also for the Mr. Mike for the presentation and the discussion. Thank you. And also I will read the next agenda for Akademiabiliti webinar next agenda. Okay, the schedule is in 22nd February in Wednesday. The theme is inspirasi dewasa berkebutuhan khusus kuliah di luar negeri. In Sunday to the 26th of February 2023, the theme is berdamai dengan gagal, berjuang dengan konsisten. if you interested enough about the topic, you can follow the next agenda of the webinar Akademiabiliti. And also for those who want to watch again today's webinar, you can watch in the YouTube channel of Yayasan Peduli Kasih ABK or Harian Surya and Tribun News Jawa Timur. Yeah. I am Gema Fikriansyah. I will say thank you very much for your attendance and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih Pak Mike, terima kasih Mas Gema dan semua. Monggo matur suwun.
Thank you very much, Bu Savitri and Mas Gema. I would also like to thank everybody who was here today for your questions and for your interest.
Yeah.
And also, if you want to learn more about education in Germany, we will have an online study fair on the 5th of March. Go to our Instagram and can register for that. It's free of charge, open to the public. There you can find information about Ausbildung and studying in Germany. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.